Anyway, I thought I could sort of break into this by telling a little story. So we all graduated from high school, right? And that was a day I remember, and I remember being in a rebellious mood, right? I was like, to hell with this, you know, I'm done with the periodic table of elements and failing Algebra 2, and so I borrowed a backpack and I went on a hitchhiking. Remember hitchhiking? When did you last see a hitchhiker? All the hitchhikers are like psycho killers now, right? They have a sign on their head. But in the old days, you could put your thumb out and people would pick you up. And so I thought, I'm going to go see my draft dodging friend in Vancouver, right? So I got as far as Eureka. Have you ever been to Eureka? It's a beautiful place, but it's really kind of a sad sort of post-industrial destination. And they say, oh, somebody always picks up a hitchhiker. Well, in this case, I stood out in the threatening kind of rain for literally almost 5 hours. Nobody picked me up. And there was a service station. I kept going back to get a drink of water, use the facility, and at a certain point, it was starting to get dark, and I realized that the brand name I'd seen on plumbing for decades, remember American Standard? I looked at it and I was hallucinating. I was sure it said American Stranded. And I was like, what am I gonna do? It's raining, and also there was big signs everywhere saying no loitering, right? I'd seen those signs for years, but suddenly I was like loitering, and which I always thought was like littering something liquid, you know, it's a kind of squishy word. And I thought they're gonna throw me out or something, you know. I was 18. And so this guy came over who was missing a couple of fingers with a kind of face. And he said, son, do you have somewhere to stay? It's getting dark. And I said, I actually don't. I do not. He said, well, come down with me and we'll take you to the rescue mission, right? It's on 2nd Street. And Eureka is a waterfront town, and it's a tough town. And now, even I looked it up the other day, it's still got the highest per capita of homeless people, and it's a rough place, right? So we went down there, and there was this looked like an old hotel, but it had a neon cross, which is a great kind of a neon cross. And there was some sharing of letters, you know, rescue mission. You can do that if you like crossword. So we walked down, and on the way he told me, yeah, he said, I've been a logger, 30 years, and I used to love to hear them chainsaws buzzing, but now it's all logged out. There's no work, And his name was Henry. So I followed him down innocently, and we got there, and it was we walked inside, and it was really shabby and really run down, and I was wet. When your pants are wet, your pant legs, and it gets higher and higher, the water line, and really cold. It's cold. So he went and he told me, you got to be saved first before they feed you. So I said, okay, I'll get saved. I need saving. So we got in there, and it was like there was a food place with all these tables, and then there was a little kind of a church with a pulpit and some hard wooden benches. And so the first thing was getting saved, right? So we sat down, and I was like in the front row because we were early. And I was raised as a Catholic, and the whole concept of hell was kind of vague, And in the church, there would be the priest mumbling something in Latin up in front, way up there. But in this case, the preacher was right there in front. And he was so fired up, and I got my first hellfire surgeon that I'd ever heard. And his capacity to sort of telegraph the details of hell, the ambience and the layout and stuff. And he was waving his arms around, and literally spit was flying out of his mouth on the guys in the front. And he really got into it. And I was like really tired and really cold and kind of, it was affecting. So then we ate, and it was sort of a big giant pot was what they had, with a gray sort of meat-like substance. And it looked like dishwater that was in, and they were ladling it out, just like out of a movie. And I was getting more and more shocked. And so we got to the food, and then they said, okay, it's time to go to bed. And it was a ballroom, a huge room with a really high ceiling with all this ornate plaster kind of falling down, and these 3-tier beds, bunk beds, right? And Henry, my friend, he said, don't get in the bottom bunk. And I don't, well, somebody gonna get in with me or whatever, but I said, okay, I won't. So we went in there, we all filed in, and there was a big sign, no talking after lights out. And so I crawled up into the bunk, and the bed was wet. It was wet, and I didn't know what it was. There was no other beds, and all these old guys, out of work people, and Vietnam vets in their khaki, coats those guys would wear, and it was a heavy, kind of sad kind of feeling. But I thought, well, they're going to feed me. I hadn't eaten anything. I was still really hungry. So I lay down there, and I began feeling the wetness. I put my bag out, and it was one of those cheap army surplus bags with feathers in it, and the quills poke through the stuff and poke into you. And I was lying there, and the lights, there was a big buzzer, and all the lights went out, right? And the lights went out, and there was quiet for a while. But then I began hearing this distinct sobbing sound underneath. Some guy was just crying, and there was a lot of alcohol up there and terrible food and stuff. And it was scary, and I was lying there, and it wasn't life-threatening, but the other guy was about the afterlife. I began sort of dwelling on that and lying there getting poked by these things, and then the cries, guys saying, "Mother, Mother." And it was just really very moving. And then, on a lighter note, the bad food, the terrible digestion, the alcohol, the indigestion, and the orchestra of greenhouse gas. And it was funny at first, but it sounded like a test facility for a whoopee cushion, It went on, and then the crying and stuff, and it was a night I'll never forget. Anyway, it's a long introduction, but I'm trying to fill up some time here, because these songs are very short, and there's not a lot of instrumentation, so thank you for your forbearance. Here's the song that I got out of it. That was in 1968.
I was there in 1973.
You can relate. To the rescue mission? Yes. Amazing. We got to trade some. Kevin was at the rescue mission also. Willow and lily, rose bush and briar, two tired eyes and a memory for hire. Rainy nights and headlights that shine on the street. No place to meet someone, no someone to meet. No someone to meet. In a bus depot, out of a job, pinball machines, and the gal on the loudspeaker calling out arrivals and baggage to claim. Never once does her voice even whisper your name. Oh Lord, won't you call out my name? Henry McGinn had been in and out of the childhood and the army and the Humboldt County Jail. Well, I didn't do nothing, but nothing's a crime. So they served me my meals and I served them my time. But my time ain't worth a dime. I put on my court boots and worked with other men as a logger on the green shade in 1929. But the work dried up and the money moved on, and I'm stuck between Muscatel, midnight and dawn. But they say it won't be for long. There's a place down on 2nd Street, it's God's chosen dive. If you sit through a sermon, they'll keep you alive. Jesus is in the oatmeal and St. Paul's in the stew. Holy Mary's in tears and they blame it on you. But Lord, what can you do? Willow and lily and rosebush and briar, 2 tired eyes and a memory for hire. Rainy nights and headlights shine on the street. No place to meet someone, no someone to meet. No someone to meet. Thank you. Thank you so much.